Primary source reader, World History to 1500 by Dr. Joshua Fan. Number 8, Legalism. A third school of thought that emerged in the chaos of the late Zhou era was legalism. Legalism reached its peak in the late 3rd century BCE. In the writings of Han Fizi, circa 233 BCE, and the policies of Emperor Qin Shi Huangdi, Han Fizi was a prince of the State of Han who defected to its chief rival, the state of Qin. Han Fizi was a student of the philosopher Zunji, but abandoned Confucian philosophy in favor of the more pragmatic and tough approach. Before he died, he composed a number of essays on how to construct a stable and peaceful state. Questions for response paper. Number 1. In Han Fizi's ideal state, what is the supreme governing authority, the will of the ruler, or the law? What roles do individuality and private initiative play in this ideal state? Number 2, how does strict adherence to law lead to social order? Number 3, what are the two handles and how important are they to important are they to legalist state? Why must the sovereign never surrender control over the two handles? Primary text selections from the Han Fizi on having regulations. No country is permanently strong, nor is any country permanently weak. If conformers to law are strong, the country is strong. If conformers to law are weak, the country is weak. Therefore, at present, any ruler able to expel private crookedness and uphold public law finds the people safe and the state in order, and any ruler able to expunge private action and act on public law finds his army strong and his enemy weak. So find out men following the discipline of laws and regulations and place of them above the body of officials. Then the sovereign cannot be deceived by anybody with fraud and falsehood. Find out men able to weigh different situations and put them in charge of distant affairs. Then the sovereign cannot be deceived by anybody in matters of world politics. Now, supposing promotions were made because of mere reputations, then ministers would be estranged from the sovereign, and all officials would associate for treasonable purposes. Supposing officials were appointed on account of their partisanship, then the people would strive to cultivate friendships and never seek employment in accordance with the law. Thus, if the government lack able men, the state will fall into confusion. If rewards are bestowed according to mere reputation and punishments are inflicted according to mere defamation, then men who love rewards and hate punishments will discard the law of the public and practice self-seeking tricks and associate for wicked purposes. Therefore, the intelligent sovereign makes the law select men and makes no arbitrary promotion himself. He makes the law measure merits and makes no arbitrary regulation himself. In consequence, able men cannot be obscured, bad characters cannot be disguised, falsely praised fellows cannot be advanced, wrongly defamed people cannot be degraded. Accordingly, between ruler and minister, distinction becomes clear and order is attained. Thus it suffices only if the sovereign can scrutinize laws. Hence, to govern the state by law is to praise the right and blame the wrong. The law does not fawn on the noble. The string does not yield to the crooked. Whatever the law applies to, the wise cannot reject nor can the brave defy. Punishment for fault never skips ministers. Reward for good never misses commoners. Therefore, to correct the faults of the high, to rebuke the vices of the low, to suppress disorders, to decide against mistakes, to subdue the arrogant, to straighten the crooked, and to unify the folkways of the masses. Nothing could match the law, to warn the officials and overawe the people, to rebuke obscenity and danger, and to forbid falsehoods and deceit. Nothing could match penalty. If penalty is severe, the noble cannot discriminate against the humble. If law is definite, the superiors are esteemed and not violated. If the superiors are not violated, the sovereign will become strong and able to maintain proper course of government. Such was the reason why the early kings esteemed legalism and handed it down to posterity. Should the Lord of men discard law and practice selfishness, high and low would have no distinction. The two-handle. The intelligent ruler controls his ministers are two handles only. The two handles are chastisement and commendation. What are meant by chastisement and commendation? To inflict death or torture upon culprits is called chastisement. To bestow encouragements or rewards on men of merit is called commendation. Ministers are afraid of censure and punishment, but fond of encouragement and reward. Therefore, if the Lord of men uses the handles of chastisement and commendation, all ministers will dread his severity and turn to his liberality. The villainous ministers of the age are different. To men they would be securing the handle of chastisement from sovereign ascribed crimes. On men they would be securing the handle of commendation from the sovereign bestow rewards. Now supposing the Lord of men placed the authority of punishment and the profit of reward not in his hands, but let the ministers administer the affairs of reward and punishment instead, then everybody in the country would fear the ministers and slight the ruler, and turn to the ministers and away from the ruler. This is the calamity of the ruler's loss of the handles of chastisement and condemnation. This is the end of Legalism and Primary Source Reader.